always say that I'm a product of a bunch of people pouring into me. Posse was an organization that poured into me. Here locally, there's Association House, which as a kid, it kept me out of trouble. I played a lot of sports there. But Posse was the real big game changer because it opened up my eyes to the world that exists outside of the 4.5 mile radius around Humboldt Park, which is where I grew up, spent most of my days.
How did you find the Posse Foundation and how did all that work for you? Right?
Yeah, so Posse's been around for over 30 years now. I was the second cohort that went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So with Posse, either local community organizations can nominate students, alumni, which now more than ever can nominate students, and then your high school can also nominate you. It fills my cup. It makes me feel good about waking up in the morning and having had an impact on someone's life. Think about the way that I show up. It's always, how do I help them be better at what they're doing?
Right.
How do I help them be better at how we serve our clients? Everything is about service, right? Everything is about doing the right thing in service. I think everything evolves. Every industry evolves. I think benefits have evolved. We went through a global pandemic. The way that we pay for healthcare today has been under the microscope because it's gotten so expensive. The one thing that I always say though is every organization, every company is different because there is two parts of it. There's philosophy, and then there's what our employees need, right?
With the broker world, right, the 360 benefits and others, 3 to 5 years downstream, or is there so much uncertainty that let's keep it, 1 to 3?
When I look at the uncertainty, I think the uncertainty is...
Welcome to The Intersection by Oak Leyden. R.J. McMahon, honor and privilege of serving as the CEO of this fine organization. And before we get rolling, very excited about this guest. Just a ton of thank yous. Thank you for liking, for commenting, for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Please let friends and family, coworkers, let them know about the YouTube channel, The Intersection by Oak Leyden. Subscribe. It helps all of our algorithms to get the message out of these wonderful guests who have said yes to joining us on this great podcast. So today is no different. So excited to have a friend of the show, as they say, right? Richie Morero joining us. Just so excited to have you. Thanks for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Appreciate
oh my gosh.
you having me out.
Absolutely. And, as I was thinking about this conversation, I think the guy on the other side of the camera is the one that introduced us, if I'm remembering correctly, right?
100%.
That's what I thought. So he's the guilty party, right?
Yes.
That you can blame, right?
I wouldn't blame him. This is great.
This is good.
You're one of my new best friends.
There we go. I love it.
I've known Oak Leyden because Millie Adon served on your board for several years. So Millie and I have a good relationship.
There we go.
Because of my relationship with Haas and healthcare alternative systems, and the work that they're doing is equally as instrumental and tremendous to the work that you all do here.
Well,
so
thank you. Very much appreciated. And thank you for the perspective. It's nice to know that folks know this organization because we've been around for 70 years, but pretty much have flown under the radar, right? So,
and there's a beautiful thing about flying under the radar and doing the work that you're doing. A lot of times social service agencies are doing thankless work, but the work is really impactful. And so we appreciate you guys and all the work you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And we're going to dive into kind of how you're impacting the worlds that you're in, because as many of these conversations really prove to us, to our listeners, the road is not linear, right? No. And those of us that have kind of traversed backs and forwards and lefts and rights and, 2 steps up, 1 step back, I think it's important for people to hear, that, I think I want to get there. I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And actually, when you get there, you realize that you're over here, right? But it's still in such a great place, right? So
absolutely.
That's I think what today will bring, and really just excited to just shine a light on the good stuff that you're doing and just what motivates you and how you bring that forward, because all of our interactions. Truly, I walk away more energized than when I walked in, and that says something, right? And so if you're able to feed me, and I know you're feeding others, so really excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, for sure. As am I. We talked last week over lunch, and
right.
I was like, what do I got to be prepared for? You're like, Richie, just be you. and show up, and it's going to be great. We'll have
Exactly.
an
There we
open
go.
dialogue about it. So
There we go. Yeah.
I
So
love it.
let's jump in, right? And so, do you want to start where we are today? You want to start how this road began? What's comfortable for you?
Yeah, I always say that life's a journey, and you got to embrace the journey, and it comes with turns across, in different sections of that journey.
Right.
You got to be prepared, and at every turn in that journey, there's a choice.
Right.
I can start from the beginning.
Yeah. So I got a question. So I do a little research when I'm engaging, and I'm sure I saw this before, but I didn't realize that you got your bachelor's in social work.
Yeah.
Right. So you got a heart for this, right?
100%. I got my undergraduate degree at the University of Wisconsin in Madison on a Posse scholarship.
Right.
So
we want to unpack both of those, right?
Yeah.
And so UW Madison, coming from Chicago, coming from your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Pretty huge, right?
100%.
A little bit of outside your comfort zone, but as we will find out momentarily, Posse scholarship, you had your Posse with you, right? So talk a little bit about how that all developed and as just those early steps in this journey.
Yeah, so I always say that I'm a product of a bunch of people pouring into me. Posse was an organization that poured into me. Here locally, there's Association House, which as a kid, it kept me out of trouble. I played a lot of sports there. But Posse was the real big game changer because it opened up my eyes to the world that exists outside of the 4.5 mile radius around Humboldt Park, which is where I grew up, spent most of my days. And when I got to Madison, I knew that I wanted to have an impact on children's lives, of children who grew up like me. So I always thought that avenue would be through the world of social work.
Sure.
So I got my undergraduate degree in social work, and then I went to Loyola and did my master's work there. But again, the journey, right? The journey transitioned me into the world that I'm in today. But I think my road, my building blocks of me growing up in the community that I grew up in really paved the way for the human that I am today, and why I'm so passionate about making life better for folks, helping folks at any opportunity to. And I say a lot, I do a lot of that because I think it's, one, I've shared this with John, I think it's selfish. It fills my cup. It makes me feel good about waking up in the morning and having had an impact on someone's life, whether it's my own family, my friends, my peers, my colleagues, my clients, whoever. I'm always going to show up and do the right thing when no one's looking, because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
So,
well, and that's the core. That's
100%.
absolutely, that's who you are. And that's, and that shines through, right? And in kind of every step and every interaction, because you're present in the moment. You're present in that time.
Yeah. I say this to my kiddos, and I sound like an old man now, but my daughters.
Welcome to the club.
It's a good club to be a part of.
It's a great club to be part of.
I say this to my kids all the time. They're 10 and 8, 2 little girls. And I say to them, 2 things is do the right thing when no one's watching. And it doesn't cost you anything to be nice to people, right? Because those are the foundational elements of relationship. Like,
absolutely. If
you treat people the way you want to be treated, golden rule, it works out.
Right.
So,
there's something to that, right?
100%.
That's so good. That's so good. So, so you get connected to the Posse scholarship, right? And so how did you find the Posse Foundation, and how did all that work for you? Right. Yeah.
So Posse's been around for over 30 years now. I was the second cohort that went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So with Posse, either local community organizations can nominate students, alumni, which now more than ever can nominate students, and then your high school can also nominate you. The process takes place your junior year. You get nominated, and then you go through what they call a dynamic assessment process. Before you go into that dynamic assessment process, every single student that's nominated gets an interview and gets an opportunity to meet in a large group setting.
So great.
And then they start to funnel it down to finalists. So the year that I got the scholarship, there was roughly 1,500 students for about 100-ish spots.
Wow.
Now there's over 6,000 students nominated every year, and there's still only 150-ish slots.
Seriously.
The last I heard of it, it's harder to get a Posse scholarship than it is to get into Harvard.
Right.
Statistically. So, and it's crazy because the caliber of student, the talent of student now is, I always tell people they made a mistake when they got me in the board. They got me over to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, 20 plus years now.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, they were really doing God's work there.
You're stealing my line, by the way. There's no way I would have gotten into Boston College my junior year, right? So, yeah. So the fact that I got in, the side door, they shouldn't leave the side door open.
Not for the gritty guys. They can figure it out.
Exactly. Hey, if they're going to leave it open, I'm going to find it, right?
Absolutely. So then when you get to your senior year, you meet with your now posse, because now you've gone through the selection process, the DAP process takes place your entire senior year. So what they're doing is they're sending this cohort of students, call it 10 to 12 students, to the partner universities across the country. But your entire senior year, you're meeting to build relationship, to build the posse, if you will. Right. And that's where the magic is. Now we're pulling for one another. And our graduation rate in college is 90+%.
Amazing.
And it's because of the program. I mean,
right. The foundation that's built.
100%. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that Posse received some of Obama's award that he got, the prize that he won, some cash. He sent some of the cash to Posse because he believed in the work that we're doing.
It's great.
So it really is inspiring. Corporations are starting to lean into the Posse kind of dynamic on how they're doing the programming to leverage that with their teams, their leaders, their people within their organization. So it's a really powerful organization. Shout out to Deborah Beal, who founded it 30+ years ago. She believed in the vision. And I always share this story because I think it's really critical. When she was sending kids to university, she was sending them as individuals. And these were really talented kids that they had gone through this application process. Many of the kids were coming back. And the question that she would ask them is, why are you coming back? You're capable, you're talented, yada, yada. The overwhelming is, I didn't have my posse.
Right.
So back in the 80s, boom. And that's how Posse Foundation started.
Right.
So, yeah, really cool organization.
Absolutely. And shout outs. And you've still been engaged, right? You're still engaged with them.
Yeah, there's still
paying it forward.
Tremendous amount of people. I served in a couple capacities as leadership council member and then on the advisory board for a little bit. And now I've got children of my own. So time is really, really important. But the goal is that as my kids matriculate and I get even a little bit more aged, I will have more time back in 10, 15 years. And we'll stay involved that way. But
still the same 168 hours a week, right? But you gotta figure out how you're doling it out.
I've gotten better as I've aged. That's saying no to things that, I just have to.
And that's hard, right? Yeah. And so how do you counsel your team along those same lines, right? Because that there are times when we all feel like, all right, if someone's asking, I got to jump in, right? And we're always looking at the top of the funnel to try to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And so, what advice do you give your team? Some non-negotiables, but there are times when you have to call the ball.
Yeah, I think it's prioritizing. Understanding where you're at, what your role is, being a good team member. There are things that I can't say no to because I need to show up.
Totally.
And there are other things that may not be as important in the grand scheme of things. And then prioritizing those things. For me, I didn't have a present father when I was growing up. So being there for my kids will always be a high priority in what I'm doing. And if my friends and colleagues and people don't understand that, then I need to reevaluate our relationship or their values. Where do their values lie? And maybe they're not in alignment, and that's okay too, right?
Totally.
Everybody chooses their heart, if you will.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, I always just say prioritize it and eat the frog. Tackle the things that are most critical first, and then moving forward, you organize in that manner and over communicate. And when you say no to something, it's okay to say, hey, I can't attend that because I'm going to my daughter's soccer game.
Right.
I can't attend that because I have a family gathering that we're attending. And people understand.
Completely.
Yeah, people usually have grace.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's important for us to give ourselves the grace too.
100%.
To be able to do that and say
that. Was the hardest part for me. It wasn't about others. It was about me and being comfortable saying no to certain things.
Right.
That's my personality. I love being with people. I love taking on an activity or, going to an event. So it's just about managing your own expectations and needs. And so
that's great. That's great. All right. So, UW-Madison, those 4 years come and go, right? And you're like, all right, now I got to jump, right? And carried it on, went to Loyola. And at what point did you say, you know what, insurance is really interesting to me?
Yeah, so I went to Madison, right? So I'm going to pivot there and then I'll come back to insurance. So
I like it.
At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, right down in Milwaukee, you have Northwestern Mutual.
Yes.
Northwestern Mutual does a really good job of recruiting on college campuses. So they spent a lot of time on our college campus. So I had learned a little bit about the insurance world, specifically the personal insurance world, life, disability, long-term care insurance, those products that are meaningful and important in an overall program. So when I was at CPS and working in the doing programming after school for parents, I was talking to them about the things that I didn't have when I was growing up, like basic budgeting tools, basic insurance tools. Like when my father passed away at 10, we didn't have any life insurance.
Wow.
So those tools that are impactful in an overall program. So that was something that I enjoyed. And then fast forward, my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, we were living together. I was working really long days and dealing with a lot of what the kids were dealing with, right?
Sure.
And
You're bringing that home.
I'm passionate. Like I care about these kids. If they didn't have food at night, I would go buy them food and take them home, or help them cope with their reality every day, because I could empathize with it. I knew what they were going through. My wife now at the time was like, I don't know if this is it's not sustainable. Like you're working way too hard. You're constantly stressed out or bringing these things home. We may want to consider, a different career path. And at the time I had met a Mass Mutual general agent through the Posse Foundation at like a social event. And it's funny because he says they do this little background check, like, oh, who's your network? Like trying to evaluate whether or not you can succeed in a career. And he got to know me and he liked me, and he was very transparent with me. And he's like, this is a very, very challenging career. His name's Manny Amesco. He actually runs the Mass Mutual agency out of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
He's living in Bloomfield, Michigan. Great guy, super charismatic. And I was like, I could do what he does.
Right.
But he told me, he's like, this is the hard part. And I'm like, dude, there's no one that's going to outwork me. There's no one that's grittier or can create, respect and trust from people than me. And I'm not going to sell products that people don't need.
Right.
But I have no problems telling them, hey, here's my story. And if we would have had life insurance or disability insurance, my life would be very, very different. So I could believe in that. And that's how I transitioned over to Mass Mutual almost 15 years ago.
Wow. And
then did that for a good handful of 6-ish years. And that led to where I'm at
there,
today.
Right. Yeah. So it's good to have, as we joke, our better halves, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, clearly she was on her game, right?
Yeah. She's an attorney one, type A. She's just a spitball, a fire of energy, and like tells you exactly how it is. I was like, honey, sometimes you can't talk to people that way. And you can't talk to me that way. But a lot of times it's seeing the forest through the trees, because at the core of who she is, she always means the best. Right. Yeah, she's been a steady rock in our life, and
that's awesome.
Mama bear to the kiddos, and yeah.
And the centering for you.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Again, to recognize and to call it out, right? And say, you know what? You can't sustain this because you're carrying all this, right? And you're not going to do it any other way. So time to pivot.
100%. And that pivot was good, but again, the journey, right? Like everything that I had went through, all the learnings, if you will, throughout even that educational process and working in CPS and all those things, all of that led to this continued journey that I'm on today.
Completely.
And all those learned experiences, I think, actually have made me, more empathetic, a better listener.
Of course.
All of the things that matter in business.
Right.
Because, it matters.
And you've seen. It's not just your journey. You've seen other journeys, other families, other children, all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so that factors into the calculus too, right?
100.
So, to your point, you're absorbing all of that, right? And now what I love, in your role now with 360 Benefits, and we'll get into, some other things that you're up to, but truly at the core is, how are we supporting our team members, right? And so talk a little bit about kind of how that has evolved and how you really kind of bring that to the forefront in your relationships and what you do.
Yeah, I've always had a servant mentality. Like I've always been a servant leader. If I, think about the way that I show up, it's always, how do I help them be better at what they're doing?
Right.
How do I help them be better at how we serve our clients? Everything is about service, right? Everything is about doing the right thing in service and showing up. There's only a couple things that really, really matter to clients is, do you have the expertise to support us? are you listening to our needs? And then when you say you're going to do something, are you doing it?
Exactly.
And if we can deliver on those three things, we're better than most of the companies out there.
Absolutely.
Right?
75% of the group, right?
100%. So how do, as leaders within our organization, it is really important for us to create an environment and cultivate the ability to empower our people to do that and to take pride in doing that.
Right.
And we're going to make mistakes, and that's normal. But how do we fix the mistakes when they happen, or how do we stay out ahead of them so that don't happen? Right? Attention to detail, the simple things that matter when you're working for someone and serving their needs as your client. So yeah, just making sure those things, and we put our money where our mouth is as it relates to our employees. Benefits are more important now than they've ever been.
Right.
And we're in employee benefits, so we serve companies and as they serve their employees. So we take care of our employees by paying 100% of their healthcare costs, providing, we don't really have PTO, we don't have vacation time. We're all adults. Let's do our jobs appropriately. And what we found is that really works for our people.
That's so great.
And an environment where they can come in and say, hey, RJ, I have this issue.
Right.
And let's talk about it. Like, what is the issue? How do we get to a place where it works for everyone?
Right.
If it is an issue that can be addressed. If it's not, then let's have an adult conversation about what the issue is. Right. But yeah, we are open, communicative. We spend a lot of time with each other. We're in a service business.
Right.
If we can't serve each other, how are we going to serve clients?
Amen. Right. Yeah. And then when you engage with the client or potential client, you have to be aligned, right? And that probably is job one, just ensuring that there's an alignment, right? Mm-hmm. That okay, what we're doing and what we can provide matches with the expectations and what they deliver, right? Yeah. And then, when you're crafting kind of the benefits package, because you're spot on. I mean, benefits today, this is so interesting. It feels like it's so much more integral to an employee's, experience, right? And it's not just, we've got benefits and they're over there and they're in the handbook and go ahead and read it, right? And how has that happened? Like, what's that evolution? In your time doing this, has it changed or has it always been and I just haven't been paying attention?
I think everything evolves. Every industry evolves. I think benefits have evolved. We went through a global pandemic. Right. I think that had a lot to do with the resources that we're seeing specifically on the mental health, the advancement of telemedicine, both on the drug side as well as actual, seeing a physician and getting treated for day-to-day illnesses. I think that the fight for talent during the pandemic was real. You had a lot of organizations that were overpaying for talent because they had to.
Right.
So I think it has evolved tremendously. The way that we pay for healthcare today has been under the microscope because it's gotten so expensive. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I always say, though, is every organization, every company is different because there is two parts of it. There's philosophy, and then there's what our employees need, right? So we love working with organizations that are progressive and realize that, hey, benefits are really critical for our employees and their families, and we're willing to make sure that we have a good program in place. Those are the ones that we really love working with because then we can provide, blanketed guidelines without any limitation on, the finances that come along behind it. We're still being smart financial stewards of the program.
Of course, you have to be.
But hey, here's what's out there. Here's what you can have access to should you want that.
Right.
And then there's the idea when you're working with a CFO who's like, this is not sustainable any longer. And that's becoming more and more real for organizations today.
Right.
So we help them understand what the different funding arrangements out there. Are they in the right plan design? Who's taking your insurance? What are your employees saying about your program?
Right.
And then being able to wrap around a strategic approach that is in alignment with what their vision is. And the vision can't be we hope for a good outcome this year. The vision has to be, hey, where do we want to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Right.
How does this program, the strategic program that we're putting in place or that we have in place that we're refining make sense long term? That's where the discussion, the listening, the good questions on our part to the organization.
Right.
Because a lot of times people make a decision on the cost of it may just be a CFO and doesn't really understand the benefits, or vice versa. It might be a CHRO saying, hey, this is what we need, but they don't understand the financial acumen. The best is when we're all in the room talking about it strategically and then pulling in the same direction to get to a place that's in the best option for the organization, the company, whatever the group is.
And and I think for those of us that have been in arrangements working with companies, vendors, brokers, whatever term you want to use, I don't look at you and 360 in that way, because truly you're partners in this process. You want to be in the room to have those conversations, right? And I think you and I have talked about this before. It can't be transactional, right? And when when we're stuck in the mindset of, all right, we got to make our budget work for this year, yes, and we need to build something that's sustainable, right? And if we're just kind of crafting something to hit the numbers for this year, are we really being sustainable? Are we really being thoughtful and intentional in creating this? So to have a partner in the room saying, kind of prodding and pushing, talk a little bit about how you kind of work with your clients to get there. Because sometimes you're right, depending on who's calling the ball, it's a whole different conversation and a whole different decision metric.
Yeah. I think when you start poking and prodding, all of that is meant to put us in a better spot, right?
Totally.
It's our relationship. It's our partnership to create sustainability in something that has become a big line item on your P&L. It's probably the second on most organizations,
after payroll,
companies,
right?
P&L, outside of paying people. And if you have a large, real estate presence or brick and mortar presence, but it's become more and more important. And I always say this to leaders within organizations: we have a fiduciary responsibility to the people that are keeping our clients happy and supporting our clients, because we're commingling funds to pay for healthcare. It's our responsibility. Let's do it the right way, right? So when I always poke and prod in that way, I was like, okay, here's what's out there. Here's what we currently have. We always look at the different carriers. The challenge that we have today is that there's only 4 real major carriers in the market.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's more that are coming as we start getting into like level funded and captives, and looking at different ways of paying for healthcare. But if you are in, which most of the organizations in the Chicagoland market under 500 employees are going to be fully insured, which isn't right or wrong. There's ways to look at it and dissect the data.
Right.
But we will, and that's what we do, is like, here's what's out there. Here are ideas, and we're constantly bringing that to the leaders within the organizations and the companies to help them, make sure that they're turning over every stone to identify where there's opportunity.
Right.
And the data is showing us it's going to continue to get worse. So what are we doing today? If we just sit on our hands and hope for good outcomes, we know what that definition is, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's about bringing forward-thinking ideas, and how do we help bring those ideas, but then also share how we as organizations share with our people how they can consume healthcare more appropriately as well. So we're seeing a lot of folks move to, whether it's level funded or more of a self-funded approach to healthcare.
Right.
And then we as leaders and as a partner to a company, we need to say, here's the resources your team members need in order to consume healthcare appropriately or beneficially.
Right.
Because we're not trying to take healthcare away from them.
No, we can't.
Or minimize their benefit. We're just trying to say, hey, how do we maximize the dollars that we are spending, which are precious because they're your dollars as well, on this healthcare program.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how is the industry responding to that, right? Because I think there are a lot of players, right? And you mentioned they're kind of the 4 big underwriters, right?
That's exactly Blue Cross, United, Cigna, and Aetna. They call them the BUCAs, or the Blues. You've probably heard that before.
Absolutely. So how do you see the industry responding, and how with the broker world, right, the 360 benefits and others, so much is dictated up here, right? And yet there is play, right? And you can manage both ends, right? Yeah. So, how do you see kind of the industry, responding today, and what does that look like, 3 to 5 years downstream? Or is there so much uncertainty that let's keep it, 1 to 3?
Yeah, I think when I look at the uncertainty, I think the uncertainty is going to be there regardless, right?
Okay.
What I do, see organizations doing is, okay, if we have a 3 to 5 year strategy, how do we start chopping away at it today?
Right.
And putting in a strategic path forward. And I always say this: control what you can, right? So if we control the controllables, which is the here and now and living in the present with a forward-thinking idea, this is the path that we want to go down forward. Here's where step 1 is. organization is going to be much better off in doing it that way. But if we're not in a place where we can just throw our hands up and say it is the way that it is, because that's going to do us no good.
Right.
Then we'll continue to remain in this cycle. And that cycle has been, I mean, the average trend is anywhere between 8 and 14% that we've seen.
Right.
But if you look at, the average renewals that's being delivered by the biggest player in this market, the Midwest, we'll call it Illinois for sure, BCBS, those renewals have been in the 18 to 30% range, which is
That's
for a
untenable.
nonprofit organization, it is not sustainable.
No.
So that's the conversations we're having is how do we nip this in the butt? How do we position ourselves to have the greatest success, and what's the path forward? Those are dialogues that we're having every renewal period. We're having those with every prospective client. We're having those with anybody that is willing to listen, because they will be better off if they have these tough conversations and find ways to move the needle.
Right.
They also need to communicate effectively with their people. I think that that's the biggest thing that is missed is, hey, if we're going in this direction, why are we going in this direction? And how does it impact the people that we're serving, our team members?
Right.
Bring them into the fold. Let them know, hey, healthcare is expensive. These are typically, employees don't really know. They just get their benefits and they look at it once a year.
Right.
So how do we help bring them along to help them understand, hey, we have a responsibility to you, and you're helping us pay for healthcare as an organization. Here's the realities. And then they won't be as, vocal when there's a carrier change every 10 years, or every 8 years.
Right.
But we have a lot of clients that have been, with Blue Cross Blue Shield for 12 years, and they tell us they can't leave. Then you're fighting against Mike Tyson with one hand behind your back.
Right.
Because the carriers aren't going to lose.
No.
So how do we, create, outcomes that are in our best interest?
Right.
Sometimes that requires to think about things a little differently.
It does.
Whether it's carrier change or funding arrangement change.
Right.
Plan design. There's a lot of levers that can be moved to get us to a better place.
Right.
So that's the fun part. That's what I enjoy.
Right. Because
Like,
you're solving it.
How do we solve that puzzle?
Jigsaw puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And really moving the parts around, and ultimately there will be a good outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're all kind of keeping, the employee, the team member in the middle, right? That's ultimately who we're here to serve. To your point earlier, right?
And there's going to be years that are tougher than others to accomplish the goal, but it can be done. And if you're looking at it every year and you're being strategic, you're going to put yourself and the organization and your people at a better spot.
Right. So, thank you. That's really great perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And healthy, I think, for all of us, right? Yeah. To ensure that we're digesting that appropriately, right? Yeah. And so, as you nicely articulated before, obviously it's a big cost, it's a big line in the budget, but you and I have talked about at different points in time, just the array of benefits, right? That not everything costs the same, right? Yep. And so holistically, how are you kind of, seeing or I guess, how are you raising the opportunities for your clients to kind of, deepen their impact with benefits that aren't necessarily kind of the standard, a la carte list?
Yeah, we've helped some of our clients survey the employees. What are the employees looking for? What are they hearing about? What's interesting? We benchmark our clients. So we'll say, hey, because sometimes it's market segment driven too. If you're in a law firm and you're fighting for talent, you might say, hey, we have to invest in benefits.
Right.
So we'll do some benchmarking using some of the resources that are out there. And then when we do that, we say, here's what's out there. Whether you want to implement this now, down the road, it's totally up to you. You still are driving the car.
Right.
We're just the GPS, right? We're just giving you the routes that you can take to get
the
to
options
the destination.
To get there, right?
But it's there's a lot out there. Everything from, we see people implementing pet insurance. And some of these benefits may not cost the employer anything,
right?
But you can still put them into your benefit suite and offer it to the employees on a voluntary basis. And they still might get a discount because we're offering it on a group chassis.
Sure.
So there's ways to maximize the benefit offering for employees. But it really boils down to philosophy of leadership and then what do they want to accomplish.
Right.
The traditionals that we typically see are your medical, which is the biggest expenditure.
Totally.
You got dental, vision, things like life, disability insurance.
Right.
You might see accident, critical illness, hospital indemnity as part of it. Disability insurance is a really, really good benefit that a lot of organizations will pick up for their employees.
Right.
It's a really good one to have because they're 4 times more likely to go on disability than they are to lose their life during their working years.
Right.
So yeah, there's just a bunch out there.
Yeah.
Pet insurance is a really popular one these days.
That's so interesting.
It got more and more popular during the pandemic as people were buying pets.
Exactly. Everyone getting pets, right?
100%. Yeah. So there's a lot out there in the benefit arena. And then there's services like concierge services that.
Right. So talk a little bit about that. That seems to be taking on, I wouldn't say a life of its own, but it's certainly taking on, a pretty big component of this.
100%. Everyone, even to people that are in the space, healthcare is confusing. So when we need care, how do we have advocates that can support us? So there's companies out there that literally provide concierge advocacy for an organization and their employees. And there's a lot out. There's a slew of them out there. And we work with a lot of them and serve as a liaison between them and our clients as well.
Nice.
But that's a relationship that they would have directly with the client.
Nice.
Yeah. And they're beneficial. Everything from as we have a population of older folks, the baby boomers are all getting older.
Right.
Us middle-aged people are supporting their needs as it relates to, elder care and things of that nature. Those advocacy services can serve as resources for those type of things. So anything that can reduce the stress on the employee so that we can make sure that they're maximizing their efforts at the office or in their roles.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So that feeds you, right? And as we, right? And again, you're bringing that energy and that love to all of your interactions,
100%.
right? And but I know you got more, right?
Yeah,
so let's talk about, okay, so at some point, you thought to yourself, what else can I do, right? And I've got, as we talked about, I got 168 hours. I got a couple, lovely kiddos and a bride that I need to, kind of keep in the mix. And boy, maybe I should start, I don't know, another company. What?
Yeah, so the pandemic really illuminated a lot for me. It gave us a little bit more time at home. And, I say that there was a lot of bad that the pandemic created. But the one silver lining for me was I was at home with my kids. And I don't know many, professionals or adults that were able to see their kids grow up from 2 to 6 in one case, and then from newborn to 4 in another case. That was really powerful and awesome, and it led to ultimately the layup you just gave me, bounce pass so I can dunk it on John Morris. This idea around Pichon. So I started playing golf because of my father-in-law about 11 years ago. And my biggest gripe about golf has always been its inaccessibility. Right. I was a pretty good athlete growing up, and I say this with it's tongue in cheek a little bit, but if I picked up golf when I was a kid, like when I started playing baseball, I don't have a doubt in my mind that I'd be on the PGA Tour.
Love that.
Because in 11 years I've gotten pretty good. And
Yes, you have.
And I'm hyper competitive. And I think that there's something to be said about mechanics and being early on. Maybe I wouldn't be as chunky now. I would have been able to swing the golf club a little bit better. But I always loved the game, and the game has been so good to me. From the time that I get to spend with my father-in-law, uninterrupted 4.5 hours to pick the brain of the smartest guy I know, right?
Love it, right.
Whether he knows I'm picking his brain or not, but we just have that, interaction.
Right.
And that's what golf is for me. It's relationship building. It has been instrumental in building my client base, my practice, my relationships with other people that I can bring into the fold for my clients and vice versa. It's just been tremendous. So I said, I like that. And I'm pissed off that I didn't get a golf club till I was 30.
Right.
So we started a golf clothing brand called Pichon Golf. And then in with that, we have a foundation. So Pichon Foundation is really to create access to kids. So that side of it, and we'll start asking corporations for money so we can buy golf clubs to send kids to golf clinics.
Right.
And that's the premise of it. How do we get kids to engage in this wonderful game that has so much parallels to life sooner? Because who knows, what if they like it?
Right.
And then my big, hairy, audacious goal, I don't know if you've ever heard of BHAGs.
Yeah.
Big, hairy, audacious goal is that in 25 years, the Pichon Foundation will have given a kid their first set of golf clubs, and they'll be on the PGA Tour or the LPGA Tour.
Wow.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Mark it down, folks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That'd be cool.
That'd be so cool.
How great would that story be?
Yeah, pretty darn good. And we could,
I think Golf Magazine might pick it up in 35 years.
I think so. Something tells me that might find its way into a publication or two.
So it's been really, really cool.
Right.
And with that, we don't have a lot of direct to consumer stuff. Our real focus is how do we create quality garments and do it with corporations, either through corporate swag or charity golf outings or corporate golf outings. That's kind of the way that we're going to market.
Right.
Because I love my wife. We talked about her
Right.
earlier.
Yes, exactly.
And if I bring another big shipment of boxes back into our home or have to get another storage facility, we might be in trouble.
Might be in trouble. I think we can move beyond might.
I've gotten really good at asking for forgiveness.
Next step is begging for forgiveness when necessary, right?
No, she's great. And how did the kids play into it?
Yeah.
I wanted to show my kids that you can do anything you want.
Right.
Just figure it out, put your mind to it, and fail forward a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, because we've iterated on the polos. We've done some changes. We've had hiccups here and there with production, but it's been really fun and it's been an enjoyable journey for sure.
Right.
And the journey's just getting started. So
it's so great. That's really exciting. And so I'm curious, kind of when you're thinking about all this, and I love this, right? And this is just, I don't know, it's exciting, right? But who has the BHAG of I'm going to start a clothing brand, right? Like nobody, no, you're an insurance guy, right? And you love golf, and I get that, but who really has that? I'm going to do this, right? So, how was that conversation with your wife? Like, I'm going to do this.
You remember the part where I said I'm really good at forgiveness? I just did it. And she's like, "You're doing what?"
What?
And I was like, "Yeah, the kids are gonna love it."
Right. Oh yeah.
I just did it. I did it. It started with Danny Vega, who's the best man at my wedding. I've known him since we were in grade school, and we always wanted to do something with the word pichon.
Yeah. So
in Puerto
what's
Rican,
the translation?
Yeah, in Puerto, it's the literal translation is pigeon or bird. Right?
Okay.
But in Puerto Rican culture, you might use the word in the way that Americans or U.S. people use the word bro.
Okay.
So it's pichon. It's like, hey, pichon, let's go get coffee. Or, hey, let's go to dinner. So it's just a term of endearment is how I liken it to.
Right.
And we always wanted to do something with it. So what better way? We were literally I was in the chair getting a haircut, and I was like, I'm going to do this. So then the way that it started is I just started putting my logo on things that I already liked. So we have a good friend, George Gonzalez, who has an embroidery shop in Pilsen called Just Studios. So I just took 15 garments that I really liked, told him to embroider our logo on it. I started walking around, different places, and people were like, "What the hell is that?"
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, it's just something we're playing around with."
Right.
So long story short, coordinated an outing at Geneva National, which is where we're members at, for one of my clients whose daughter was getting married there. He's like, "Hey, can you help me organize a golf outing for 16 people? I want you to play in it." Lo and behold, I ended up playing in his foursome with a gentleman whose brother spent 30 plus years at Marrero. So he understood the garment, the retail business, and boom. I say, Denzel always says this, Denzel Washington, he says, luck is when opportunity meets, preparation.
Right.
And I don't know if I was necessarily prepared, but I was willing to get prepared really quickly.
Jumping in.
So he coordinated conversation with his brother. Me and Bob have had a great conversation. I hired him to be basically the broker of everything we're doing in the States through China.
Wow.
So that's where we're at today. And the goal is at some point, maybe we bring it onshore, but it's just really hard as a startup company with the margins and to make it where I'm not, losing my house in the States.
Right.
Manufacturing it in the States would be challenging. So if anybody in the States manufactures and is interested in partaking, I would love to have a conversation, because at the end of the day, it's all for good. I don't anticipate that this will be the thing that helps me get to retirement outside of it being a therapeutic release, because I love doing it.
That's so great. So great. So how often are you changing? I love this shirt, and thanks for those watching. I got a quarter zip. I should probably put it on now and just start advertising, right? But certainly I'll be sporting it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, the really cool thing is that we've leaned into AI a little bit, so I can leverage AI to create some customized garments that a company might want. So we don't keep a lot of inventory. If you looked at the website, it's very basic. I'm a classic kind of guy, so a lot of solids. And then I have one specific print, and that print was a collaboration between me, Bob, and my kids. And that's the only print that we'll do, unless someone else wants a different print.
Gotcha.
Right? So if you want something custom, we can work on it together. But on the website, you're just going to see our solids and then the one print that we do, which is just the head of the bird printed on the shirt all over the place. So it's a pretty cool little design. And then we take pride in the quality of the garment. Yeah. So our garments are a blend of polyester and spandex. So you get the wearability, the flexibility, the custom or the comfort of it. And then we've added some layers of complexity to each shirts to just kind of, iterate.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's fun. And my kids love it.
I'm sure.
My wife doesn't as much, but the kids love it.
And she's got to be along for the ride, right? At some point, right?
But if she has a choice, I don't know. It's funny because my wife and I, and if you get to know us, we bicker like we're
the bicker staffs.
Yeah. But it is us challenging one another. And one thing that we take pride in, and I take pride in specifically, is like, it's okay to have conflict. It's okay to have this bickering session as long as we get to a place where there's resolution and everyone is moving on. We're not mad at each other for a long period of time.
We're not carrying it, right?
And I do that to show my kids that, you can have contradictory, adverse opinions or sentiments, but how do you deliver them? And are you doing it in a way that is productive as opposed to not productive? Yeah, it's been fun. But like marriage, the kids and this other business are the only things we argue about.
But it is interesting how much
I never win those arguments. By the way,
of course. Well, yes.
She's an attorney, but she doesn't need to be an attorney for me to lose those arguments. Any smart man knows. Just shut up.
Happy wife, happy life.
There's truth.
There is some truth to that, right? It's the saying because it's real, right?
Absolutely.
So. We've joked also how much our kiddos just see and observe what's happening in the homestead, right? And everywhere along the way, right? Yeah. So, what they see and how they see you interacting, you two as a couple, and then when you're out and how you're engaging with, whether it's the wait staff or whomever, right? Yeah. And your kids get that and they see that. So you're modeling, even when you're not aware that you're doing it, you're modeling, right?
Yeah, they are such sponges. And then every once in a while they do something that you have intentionally tried to model and it puts a little bit of a smile on my face. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
They're definitely aware and they're paying attention. So all you parents out there, young parents, old parents, your kids are watching.
Yes, they are.
And they don't stop watching. So keep, putting your best foot forward and trying your darndest to do right.
Right.
So, yeah, because we're examples.
We are, whether we want to be or not, right?
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So let's grab the mantle and just run with it, right?
And your kids are lucky because they got you as an old man. You've done the things the right way for most of it.
That's nice of you to say, right? And no, we're blessed. We've got we're on the other end of that, right? Our 35 and 33-year-olds, right? And our daughter has a little boy, and you just think, wow, it's just pretty amazing, right? To see like that, right? And my wife and I were talking about something recently, and we're both like, well, that was. Oh no, that's right. Like, and you think, oh wait, holy cow, right? And was that really then? And 2010, our daughter graduated from high school to go on to college, and now we're 26. That was 16 years, right? And you kind of lose track of that,
100%. Right?
And so just revel in these ages because it's so fun. Right. So
it was what's the saying? The days are oftentimes long, but the years are very short.
Right.
So enjoy them.
Right. That's well said. Yes.
I didn't say it. I
right.
Just
No, well delivered. Exactly. Trust me. That's what I do here. Right.
So the things that I value now is like the small moments, right? Where we're going to play pickle at the park or
right.
Because they're not going to want to go play pickle at the park when they're a little older. And
absolutely.
I hope they do, but there's going to be other things that are way more interesting than hanging out with an overweight dad at a pickle court.
And it's okay to get the dad, right?
Yeah.
Because then we're doing something right? If they're not a little embarrassed by what we're doing, right?
Oh, that's my job. I tell them that's my job. My job is to embarrass you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Get used to it.
and then at some point, and I shared this with a couple of the guys that I hoop with who are much younger than me, closer to your age and maybe even a little younger, like, because I was going away. I wasn't going to be able to play for a couple of days or whatever. And they're like, what are you up to? And he goes, well, when your adult child says, hey, Dad, do you want to, don't even let them finish the question. Just say yes, right? And so, I was meeting my daughter in Texas, Houston, and we went to an Astros game, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm in. Like, you don't have to, nothing more, right? I'm coming, right? And so we went to a Rangers game in Dallas. We went to a Astros game in Houston, and it's like, so grateful for that time,
Absolutely.
And if our kids feel like, we want Dad around,
See, I told you did well. They still want to hang out with you. They still want to hang out with you. Yeah.
Sometimes their friends would prefer to, right?
There's a certain period, I think my father-in-law said, there's a period where they don't want to hang out with you, but they have to because you pay for everything.
Oh, yeah. That was my bride's line. Yeah. So they went to school together, and she said, all right, if you send me a picture, I'll pay for dinner, right? Yeah. Like, so anytime that you get together with, this brother and sister, take a picture and so we picked up a lot of meals in those days.
That is awesome. No better way to spend money than on experiences or
100%,
making life a little easier for the kiddos.
Absolutely, right? And because frankly, that's ultimately what will come back, right? And even if they don't remember a specific incident in that time, they'll remember the time and how you made them feel, right?
Absolutely.
That's...
Yeah, there's Maya Angelou, I think, has a saying, they don't care what you know or what you do, they just care about how you make them feel. And those moments for making them feel like the most important thing in the world are so critical.
Absolutely. And if things are going well, it's not even part of the calculus, right? Yep. It's just happening and unfolding, right? And ideally that's what we all want to get to. And as leaders, that's what we want. I know that's what we'd love to create and sustain here at Oak Leyden. And I know that's, in all the work you're doing with your clients, that's how you're trying to make sure that you're connecting those dots, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to, this is your show, but I was going to pose a question.
Okay. I have the right to refuse.
That's fair. I don't think you'll refuse this question. I just want people to know, specifically people who may, jump on the podcast that are my relationships. How can people get involved in what's going on at Oak Leyden? And just give you a platform.
No, I appreciate that, Richie. That's very kind.
I don't think you guys do a good enough job on this show talking about Oak Leyden because you stay away from it, but I don't want you to because it's important. That's why we're here today.
Well, no, I appreciate that. That's very kind. So, just organizationally, we support, individuals through the 11 homes that we have. 51 people live in those homes. We have 2-day programs. We also support little kiddos, birth to 3, that have been assessed or diagnosed with delays and disabilities. And we have a team of therapists, and they're rock stars, and they go into either the child's home or their daycare program and really engulf them in supports, whether that's developmental, speech, occupational therapy, whatever it might be, to really get that child prepared for their next steps in their journeys, right? And so that's all meaningful. I think organizationally, we've done some things, and we continue to do create opportunities for the community to engage with us, right? And you shined a light on this. I think COVID impacted a lot, right? And the global pandemic, kind of curtailed a lot of those opportunities. And so, we're slowly but surely, we're creating opportunities. We had a great, at the beginning of spring, we did a spring cleanup for 7 of our homes. And we had community members come, and they volunteered their time on a Saturday morning to just do some sprucing, some landscaping, and worked with our landscape partner, Hoy Landscaping, that they had a crew of guys come out and help our volunteers just do some really interesting, not even interesting, just do necessary work, right? Mm-hmm. And just tidying up and making these homes just feel better, right? Yeah. So that our participants that live there, our team that work there, just feel better about showing up, right?
Yeah.
And so those opportunities are out there. We will have had a golf outing by the time this airs. So we're looking to engage the community around that. We've got a 3-on-3 basketball tournament coming up in August, and that will be another opportunity to just kind of spread the word, right? So we're doing some things and we're creating opportunities, but ultimately, as we've talked about, find ways for our folks to feel connected, right? Our team members, our teammates, because if we do that, if we take care of our team, we know that they'll in turn take care of the individuals in our care.
Where would people find these? Is it on Oak Leyden website?
oak-leyden.org. And those volunteer opportunities, we're continuing to work. It's so much of this work is compliance based. It's regulated, right? So it's tough to kind of have one-off engagements, but we're trying to create opportunities because it's awesome for our participants to be out in the community. That they love being out in the community and just being people, right? We all deserve that opportunity, right? And our folks certainly have been on the margins their entire lives, right? And we keep saying, we got to move them from the margins to Main Street and create those opportunities. So we're always looking for unique opportunities. So if you have a place of business that manufactures something and it's interesting to you, odds are it's probably interesting to a lot of folks and host a group to come through, even if it's a small group or members from our day program. They love field trips, right? And so those are opportunities that I think are important and not always accessible for our folks.
Yeah, I love that. I just had lunch with a guy today, Vipul, and he is the owner of a glass making company in Humboldt Park.
Oh, wow.
And they produce glass for commercial buildings, and about 70, I think he said about 70% of the companies that they do it for are healthcare providers.
Oh, wow.
Maybe there's an intersection or a connection
right.
to Vipul to get you all there.
Right. Yeah, no, that'd be great.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and again, it's opportunities that we kind of take for granted, right? And seeing our folks out about, it brings a smile to a lot of our faces.
100%, and it should.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? And they're characters, right? And they bring their characterisms, every way, shape, and form. So it's good. And ultimately, as we've talked about and I've talked about with others, our frontline team, they're doing the really important work, and that, and we know that.
They're wearing the capes.
They are.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I've said this, and I know members of the team get frustrated with me continuing to say it, but this is hard work. Even on the best day, it's hard work, and we don't always see the best days from our folks, and I am so honored that our team members, our teammates, continue to show up.
Yeah.
After a tough Monday, they're here first thing in the morning, Tuesday morning, right?
Yep.
It's in here, right? It truly is. It's a vocation. It's not just a job, because when we and we had this during the pandemic, when it becomes transactional, nobody wins, right? Certainly our participants don't win, and we need it to be, kind of transformational, right?
Yeah.
Because this work is, but you need the right makeup to do it, and not everybody does, and that's okay. But those that do, I think we're creating an environment that hopefully feeds our team, and then we know we'll in turn feed our folks. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, thank you for that little forum. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's the meaningful work,
right? Absolutely.
That's where the filling of the cup comes into play.
Amen to that. Right. And so how else are you filling your cup these days?
Trying to raise productive little ones. It's always on my mind. And how do we demonstrate through our community work? How do we demonstrate, through our interactions on a daily basis when we're with them, what's important? And then if I didn't say, playing a little bit of golf fills my cup.
There you go.
So I'm excited to hang out with J-Mo and
the guy over there
and his crew, and
right
at your outing next week at Ruffled Feathers. It's going to be a good time, and hopefully we raise a few bucks as well.
I think we will. We will. And Yeah, last year we had a lot of rain, so we know that won't dampen our spirits, literally or figuratively. And but hopefully the weather will be nice, and it'll be a great day. And
hopefully it's a little cooler than the 96 degrees we've been having the last 3 days.
Yeah, this is a tough stretch, right? Even for us in Chicago, in July, I don't know, it feels really hot, doesn't it?
It is very hot.
Yeah.
At least it hasn't been as humid as it could be.
No, but
it's hot.
It's hot. It is certainly hot. This Irishman doesn't do well in this, right?
The other thing, the other thing that's filling my cup is how about them White Sox?
How about them White Sox?
They
How
are
about
playing
that?
Good baseball,
right? And they got 3 All-Stars.
Yes.
Right?
Some of them were charity, but
hey, take what you can get.
They're like,
Right?
they're having a good year. We got to let these guys have a couple more All-Stars.
Exactly.
But no, we're having a good year.
Right.
That I took my daughter on Sunday. I'm mad at you, Stella. My oldest didn't want to come because she wanted to hang out with her mom up in Lake Geneva, which is fine.
Right.
But I took my youngest and we ran the bases for the first time. She did. I didn't.
My gosh.
They don't let the adults out there. But
Right,
if you're under 13 and you have a kid who wants to run the bases at the, I still call it the cell or you
Right, exactly.
or Rate Field.
Right.
You just go after the game around the 7th inning to section 120, get in line and
boom.
Wait to have your kid run the bases. It was
Pretty
really
fun.
cool.
That's so fun.
And they won the game, which is good.
That always helps. Yeah. They finished the first half. Again, we're recording this in July in case you hadn't figured that out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's baseball and golf is what's filling my cup.
I like that.
Doing stuff like this and helping organizations serve.
I love it. Well, you are service focused leader and servant leader, and appreciate that and appreciate you, and thanks for jumping on this, and really grateful for JMO making the introduction.
It's a treat. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you too. Folks, thanks for joining us on this episode of The Intersection by Oak Leyden. And Richie, thanks for joining us. Remember, tell your friends and family, coworkers to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps all of us, especially shines a light on our great guests. So thanks. R.J. McMahon, CEO, Oak Leyden. Have a great day, folks.